We've actually overshot trend line just a little bit, but now we're kind of settling in.
Hello, and welcome to this edition of the State of Soy. I'm Michaela Jordan, reporting from People's Company office in Clive, joined today by Dave Muth, who is the Managing Director of Asset Management here at People's Company, talking about the value of farmland, how it impacts farmers, and some of the future trends that we could expect to see. Right now, farmers know that land values are kind of on the rise and maybe higher than they want them to be. Dave, let's talk about what current land values for agricultural land are.
You bet. So the USDA data that came out in August of this year, gets released annually in August, shows Iowa's aggregate land value at about $9,800 an acre. Now that's going to feel a little light compared to what you're hearing happening at auctions or maybe what you heard about a farm selling down the road, but that's aggregating all of the farmland in the state. And what we really use that data for is understanding the trends. So 2024 versus 2023 is up about 4%. And to sort of understand that, I think it's useful to maybe roll it back about 10 years. So we came off of a really amazing commodity price run through 2009 to roughly 2013. That started to trail off, and farmland values ran like they often do with commodity prices through that time frame. And then we kind of hit a little bit of a commodity price lull, and it was just trucking along for 4, 5, 6 years, and land values were doing the same, well below trend line in terms of that annual appreciation. And then we get into 2016 and 17 range, and we have a trade war with China, right? That sort of kicked off the market facilitation program, ad hoc subsidies where money was pushed directly into farmers' checking accounts. And in total, they pushed out about $54 billion into farmers' checking accounts, and about $5.3 billion, so almost 10% of that came to the state of Iowa. So we get this massive infusion of cash into the largest farmland buyer pool. At that time, we still had very low interest rates, effectively free money from a borrowing standpoint. We had a uniquely timed commodity price run that actually created a really high net income year following. And that all created kind of the perfect storm for us to come off of a period where farmland values were running a little below trend line, and now we shot back up, and we've actually overshot trend line just a little bit when we look at it on a 20 to 30 year basis, but now we're kind of settling in.
And using that knowledge from the past, we can also kind of start to predict what we're going to see in the future. What, with your expertise, do you see coming in the future based on current and past trends?
Yeah, we love farmland, so we're a little biased, obviously. But the fundamental factors driving appreciation in farmland are very real and tangible, right? So we look at yield curves. And for most of the higher productivity counties in Iowa and Illinois, we're adding between 2 and 3 bushels per acre of year of corn, right? Soybean yield trends continue to move upward as well. And so we're adding value just in that context.
A lot of farmers are also renting land. How do these different trends that you've discussed kind of impact not only the value of farmland, but the cash rent that farmers are having to pay?
Yeah, so certainly the cash flow dynamics around commodity cycles creating a little bit of a tighter cash flow scenarios for farmers, that does impact. Now, when we work through this, and just the fundamental realities is that it kind of lags, right? And farmers continue to pay rents to make sure they have access to the land. They tend not to pull back on rent. We saw some terminations on leases from farmers as they were kind of getting things sorted out, thinking about, hey, does this really work for me going into next year? At the end of the day, yields in a lot of areas were pretty strong. There was a little bit of a price relief late summer into the early fall from a commodity standpoint, and those leases are more or less holding. So more or less what we're seeing is that cash rents are largely holding going forward, but certainly there is some downward pressure on what farmers can afford to cash flow.
Farmers have a lot to consider when it comes to deciding whether to purchase or rent land, especially with current trends surrounding land values. Dave, thank you for people's support of the Iowa Soybean Association and our farmers, and by providing them with the information they need to make the decisions that are best for their farm. Reporting for this edition of the State of Soy, I'm Michaela Jordan.
Farming is a competitive business, and you need equipment you can count on every single day. That's why for nearly 90 years, farmers have entrusted their grain handling to Brandt Agricultural Products. Brandt's full line of hardworking conveyors, augers, grain carts, vacs, grain bagging equipment, and tillage equipment are made to deliver the competitive edge you need to lead the field and are manufactured here in the USA. For more information on our full line of products, visit brandt.ca today.